it is the top of the hour, so if we do want to go ahead and get started, we can go ahead and dive right in. It's going to be the AGM from the first 2 hours, and then after that, we'll go into the hack doc, which I just wanted to, before we start, say a huge thank you to Akanksha and Annie and Yamil and all the other folks that are kind of going to be running that as well. That's going to be exciting, and I hope that everyone sticks around and helps out, whether you're technical or not. There's a spot for you, and everyone is welcome. And with that, I'll hand over to Noah.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, I'm just going to tap dance for a minute while I give folks a few more minutes to join, if they're coming. So as a reminder, the Islandora Foundation is a nonprofit registered in Canada, and nonprofits both in the US and Canada are required every year to have what's called an annual general meeting at a minimum. And you can have many other official meetings all year, but at least once a year, you have to bring together your members, whoever they are, and have an official business meeting. In the past few years, when we have not had a community manager, this meeting has been very much all business. And I'm really delighted that Aubrey has joined us and that she'll be presenting something that's a little less all business as part of this, which is sort of the plan for the next year. In addition, we are going to go over financial reports as well as ratify the organizational evolution proposal from the leadership group and the board. I couldn't come up with a better way to phrase that. Essentially, we're renaming a few committees and so forth. I posted about it on the listserv last week. So I think we've got 50, 53 people are still filtering in. So yeah, I'll just dive in with the welcome to members. Again, this is a slide you've seen a couple times this week, I think, in a variety of formats. These are the institutions that financially support the foundation. We also recognize there are many other ways to support the foundation, including time and energy and code and documentation, and just using Islandora and providing feedback and so on. All of those things are very valuable. But we do have bills, and so we are very grateful to these folks for supporting the foundation financially. A couple of times today, there are going to be votes, and each of the members gets to vote when we're doing voting. So amongst yourselves, those of you who are from member organizations, please determine who is the voting member for your institution for today. And I'll say that again when we get to the voting part, but if you need to do a little back channeling now, this would be a good time to sort of sort that out.
Noah, should we have them add their names and affiliation to the notes?
Yeah, let's just rattle through this now and see who is here, because we do need to determine who is present for quorum.
Gotcha.
So do we have a representation from UPEI? UPEI Hub says yes. Okay, great. McMaster? I'm looking for Mark Pellegrino, who's usually, I don't see him in the chat, so FLVC. Rebel, that's usually you. I see you're here. Terrific. University of Texas, Austin. Not yet. All right, Iowa. Is that you, Natalie? Terrific. Discovery Garden?
Jerry's at UBI. I don't know if he's reached there yet.
Okay. So Concha, we will, when Jerry gets here, he can assume the role that you can, we'll say you're the, you.
Jerry's there.
He's here? All right, great. Hey, Jerry. Terrific. Vassar, that's you, Nicole? Right? Do we have Yukon here today? I don't see Greg, who is the usual representative. How about University of Saskatchewan? BCELN, Brendan, you in the house? Terrific. University of Leiden? There's a time zone complication with some of the European folks. Simon Fraser, say you, Mark? Mark, terrific. Okay. Whitman, Amy. We have Amy today. Hi, Amy. Great. York University, Nick, are you here? Oh, Chris for York. Terrific. All right, great. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to have to erase you here, Mark. We're just holding this spot for you. We know you'll be back, but you can't vote today. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to know if this was the slide from the presentation that I did before. There might be a couple of non-members on here.
Okay.
It was a general community slide. Sorry about that, Noah.
Yep, no worries. Okay, then I should be using a better list. But anyway, Florida State. Not seeing a name I recognize as Florida State on the list. University of Toronto. Kirsta. Don't see Kirsta. Okay, UNLV, I did see Manish and others from UNLV. Terrific. Chinese University of Hong Kong. I imagine we have time zone issues with Hong Kong as well. I will represent Born Digital. How about University of Maastricht? PALS? Do we have any Minnesota folks here? Terrific. All right, great. Lib4RI, that's another European institution. And Berkeley. UMeal, terrific. Is there anybody who I missed? If you are a contributing, financially contributing member of the foundation and you are not on this slide, please identify yourself.
Rosie, did you want
What was that, Jerry? All right. Oh, good. All right. Terrific. Thanks, Rosie. Okay, so that's the members, and Nicole is keeping notes for today as the foundation's secretary. So as I said before, today is our annual general meeting, and this meeting is subject to our community's code of conduct. We are going to use a relatively loose approximation of Robert's Rule of Order today. And as I said, only members can vote. Last year, it was only the partner, collaborator, and supporter groups. We added the adopters, and they are able to vote. And when we do a vote for a yay or nay vote, please use +1, -1, 0 in the chat if you are one of the members who have been nominated to represent your institution. There is going to be a vote for community seats today, and we're going to do that with a ranked choice vote. So that's a little different. So quorum, Nicole, I think by my calculation, we needed 11 members. Do we have 11 members?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I believe we have 12. So folks that identified, they're in the room. Noah for Born Digital, myself for Vassar. I didn't catch the names for every institution, but UPEI, Rebel for FLVC, Natalie for Iowa, Jerry for Discovery Garden, University of Saskatchewan, University of Leiden, Amy for Whitman, Chris Joseph for NYU, Jonna Horton for PALS, Yamil for Berkeley. That gives me 12.
Brandon,
Brandon, where are you from?
BCELN.
I'm sorry, say it again.
BCELN, the British Columbia.
BCELN. Okay.
I did not see anybody from Saskatchewan. And
Okay, I will.
Leiden. There's no one from Leiden here either.
Leiden
No
either.
one from Leiden either. Okay, that could be a problem. Second. Let's see. Move
And
Leiden.
Manish from UNLV. That might be your 12th.
Second. Sorry, trying to move the ones that we don't have. All right. UNLV. UNLV. Okay. University. Are you looking at this list? If you can
Yeah.
go in and correct anything, please. Going as
Yeah.
fast as I can.
So Chris is from York, not NYU, and that does give us 12. Born Digital, Vassar, UPEI, FLVC, Iowa, Discovery Garden, Whitman, York, PALS, Berkeley, BCELN, and UNLV.
Okay.
All right, so I think we can confirm that we have quorum. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Aubrey for her presentation of the community plan.
Great. Yes. Thanks, Noah. All right. So let me get situated here. Okay. All right. So I've been talking about this all conference, and I'm excited to finally present this to you all. So this is my one-year plan for community activities in Islandora. I want to set a disclaimer for this, this presentation. So this plan is designed to address many of the community goals that were outlined within our strategic plan for 2025 to 2028. The dates provided within this presentation are meant to represent a starting date for the work outlined. Some of the work is, of course, going to extend beyond the first year, but hopefully these kind of objective start dates will help us keep on track and successful as much as possible. I wanted to also say that I built this plan with all of you in mind. I've had lots of conversations with you one-on-one and in groups. I've heard about some of your institutions. I've been trying to poke in on all of the meetings and get a feel for everything that's been happening around Islandora. And I hope that you feel that this plan represents some of the needs, wants, desires, hopes, and dreams for the Islandora Foundation. All right, so we'll start with some strategic themes. I wanted to provide overall themes for the year ahead. And the main focus that I found after having these conversations, reviewing activities, et cetera, should be on fostering growth. So in order for the Islandora project and community to be successful, we need to have solid outreach plans to bring in new ideas, community support, and funding. So fostering growth is going to be one of the central themes. Strengthening collaboration and cultivating sustainability are also essential components of this plan. We need to make sure that all members of the community feel supported equally and that we're sharing the workload appropriately. So all three of these strategic themes are intertwined. Everything that's in this plan is somewhat intertwined, but I did want to just focus out on some separate wins for all of those different strategic themes to help us build up to some of the larger pieces of work that we'll be doing later in the year. So we'll start with fostering growth. So these are some of the aforementioned quick wins that we can start working on right away. Again, not all of these are going to be completed quickly, and everything in this plan is also very collaborative. So I will need help from the community as we go forward in all of these endeavors. The first one, and one of the ones I'm most excited about, is case studies. So I've talked about this a little bit at Islandora. I think it's really important to give recognition to our community members so that they feel supported and so that prospective members understand what kind of projects can be accomplished with the tools that they have. As such, these case studies will aim to showcase all levels of Islandora users. So from the DIY installations all the way up to those bespoke, customized vendor solutions, and what each of those undertakings entails. So I want to make sure when we're posting case studies that they're representative of all of those groups, but that they're also honest about what is needed to create an actual successful Islandora site. So these case studies will be done in an interview format and will hopefully include some images, maybe even some video for feeling creative, and they'll require their own new page on the website. So I'm aiming to start with 2 to 3 case studies. Ideally, we'll have 1 or 2 of them completed by the end of Q2. I'll have a calendar at the end that goes a little bit more in depth on the timelines for all of this. We'll also review the installation map and showcase. So along the same lines, we want to ensure that our current community is well represented. So we started an initial review of the installation map and found that a lot of things needed updating. We've started the work on that as well. But once we've kind of completed it internally, we'll put a more public ask out there. If you have time though, and think of it, it would be great if you took a look at your installation map and entry and let us know if it needs fixing, changing, that sort of thing. And as you're pushing out updated sites, if you can let us know, we do have a formal process for that, but if you want to also just ping me about it too, I'm happy to take care of it for you. So once we have that work completed, we can also create a showcase of some of the member institutions. So we'll have the installation map with all the links, but maybe if the case studies feel a little bit too involved, maybe you don't have enough time to kind of dedicate to creating that really built out case study, we can do the showcase, which will be, a screenshot of your repository, maybe a small blurb with information about it, that sort of thing. So less intensive, but still an opportunity to share your great work with everybody. So right alongside those two things is the website update and additions. So again, this is a little bit underway. I've started to tweak things here and there, but we want to spend some time and actually do a comprehensive overview of our website. There's a lot of things that are out of date. So we want to make sure that that information we're providing is accurate. And that's going to require some effort across the leadership group and committees to make sure that all data related to your various responsibilities is correct and up to standard. That's very important. Next up on here, we have reviewing and promoting membership. So I want to make sure we take a look at the membership model, that we're happy with it, with how it is, and begin exploring some promotion options. And that'll be done in conjunction with the new membership committee. The last thing on this slide is to start regular trainings and webinars. So this is something, again, we're going to be starting it. We're not going to have, brand new trainings ready to roll out in Q2 probably, but I would like to work to host these more regular training sessions, events, that sort of thing, and to share them out to other resources, the Fedora community and Drupal community, just as Fedora does with us. They share a lot on our listserv, and we want to make sure we're sharing just as much, if not more, and then also sharing to their listservs as well. So part of this is also going to include recording the open meetings and sharing those out more widely. There was a period of time where we were doing a great job with that, and so I want to get back on track with that. All right, this next session on fostering growth. So this is all around removing barriers to entry. So this is something that I noticed in my interview process, that I was a little confused on how to get started, where to get started, why I should get started. So all of these activities are going to fall under one of the larger scale essential activities that I see, which is the creation of the working group, which is dedicated to removing those barriers to entry. So the working group will help create some new things, refine some old things. So we have the quick start documentation, which will be creation of like a basic step-by-step instructions for brand new users. So the idea is, how can we make it as simple as possible for new users to get onboarded with the project as is? Right now, the website instructions are pretty muddy at best. There's not really a great explanation of why or how to implement your own version of Islandora. There's some broken links. I discovered this because Annie was nice enough to take me through an installation, and we had a few hiccups along the way that would be made easier by some quick fixes to the documentation. And if we take those fixes, make it all really nice, shiny, and polished, and share it out there, it's going to make it easier for new organizations to come in and to appeal to those decision makers who are going to be looking at us and saying, well, what level of effort is required? What are the steps? If they can't find those steps, they might walk away. And so we want to make sure that folks feel welcomed, and that it's, I don't want to say simple, because obviously it's a really robust, complex piece of work, but it is something that we need to refine that entry process too. And with that will come refining the starter site. So this was something that was also hit home, I think, in Don's presentation on evaluating Islandora. We want to review the front and back end of the starter site to improve our first impression. We want to make sure that when folks look at that starter site, they say, wow, that would be really great if I could put our stuff in a site like that. We want it to have that kind of first impression. And again, that's going to take time and effort and community help, but I think it's a really important piece to getting new faces into Islandora. And the last thing on this slide, best practices documentation. So this is going to be the fourth quarter and beyond, so later on in the year. But once we have new users in the system, what's required to get them to the minimum viable product, or MVP, for their Islandora site, and how can they improve on that MVP from there? So ideally, the work above will help tease out some of those areas of our documentation around best practices that need updating or adding, and we can refine those again into a document that's a little bit smaller than, the current documentation wiki that we have now is fantastic, but we need to just distill it down a little bit for those newer users. All right, next up is strengthening collaboration. So as I've mentioned a couple of times here at this conference, I would love to have some more in-person opportunities for the community. So of course, we'll be beginning our plans for IslandoraCon 2026 pretty soon here. So look out for a call for a host institution. And we'll also look to bring camps back. I know that was a regular occurrence, and I would love us to get back to that. I think that was a really wonderful way to collaborate in person. We want to have that organic kind of conversation making that is happening in this virtual conference. I've seen some really wonderful conversation, but it's just nice to have a little bit of extra time that's lent by those in-person opportunities. Communication updates. So we have some options here to improve our communication streams. So I would like to start a quarterly newsletter, as well as refine our current communication channels. So there are some additions that we can make to Slack, and we've made some actually during this conference. A couple of new channels have popped up, which is wonderful. There are some old channels that I think have been sitting stale for a while. If you happen to know one of those channels or own it, feel free to delete it if it's been inactive, or to let me know and I can take care of it. But just making sure that our communication streams are clear, up to date, and current. So that will be really helpful. Next up is educational partnerships and mentorships. So this is something, again, starting it later in the year, I think, but having these conversations, thinking about these things is important. We're a heavily academic community, and there are a lot of great opportunities to reach out within that community and to new prospective users, students, by creating resources for classes in library and information disciplines. We can hopefully introduce a new generation of Islandora users to the benefits of open source. And I would love to see kind of creation of a simplified version of Islandora, maybe the starter site that could be implemented by students. And so I know we had suggestions from Donald Moses. We also had that fantastic presentation from Martin Halbert at UNC Greensboro. So we'll be looking to partner with folks like that to kind of see how we can cultivate those educational opportunities. And if you think of ways that you could do it at your institution as well, let me know. It might be something that spins up its own working group later in the year or early next year, but something to look forward to for sure. Lastly, here we have community sprints. So as we build a roadmap, we're going to look to increase these community sprints again. I know that that was something that was happening really regularly for a while, and I'm hopeful that with all the improvements we've talked about so far, new additions, new folks coming in, we'll have some interest in those sprints that will help us achieve the proposed roadmap items that will come from the roadmap committee. All right, so cultivating sustainability. These are all ongoing things, but including them in the plan is meant to, again, keep myself and our governance groups aware of and accountable for their success. So grant applications, a lot of folks might know that we applied for the IOI grant earlier this year, and while it didn't pan out as we'd hoped, we want to use that momentum for the creation of that application to continue applying for other funding sources. Given the current climate, this is likely going to be a challenge. It's going to be an uphill battle for funding at every turn. Everything is competitive right now, but if we keep working, building off the application that we did for the IOI fund, hopefully we can get some resources to assist us with a lot of these projects, especially the more ambitious ones, and hopefully eventually with hiring a technical lead. I know that that's top of mind for a lot of folks. I want to make sure that we're monitoring our involvement requirements. So it's important that none of our community members burn out within their roles. Lots of folks here are wearing multiple hats, and it's essential to pare that down as much as possible. I'll be looking to evaluate limitations on terms and involvement levels to help us avoid this. I'm hopeful that I can be an established resource to this as well. So anyone that's feeling too much pressure can come to me, and we'll make sure that the work is being distributed fairly, and that no one's taking anything on that's too burdensome. We can redistribute duties as necessary, and this goes all the way down to who is taking notes and hosting meetings. Those might seem like little things, but they really do add up over time if it ends up falling to the same person over and over again. So I encourage anyone who's involved with committees, working groups, interest groups to make sure that we're sharing that load as much as possible. So next we'll go to the additional ongoing activities. So they all fall under some of the other topics that I've brought up already, but these are largely just my responsibilities. So the things that we've talked about are going to require a lot of community effort to get them done, but these are things that I will be largely working on by myself, which include monitoring and adding to an external events calendar to ensure awareness around important upcoming events, conferences, gatherings, that sort of thing. I'll keep my eye out and my finger on the pulse for you all. We'll be working to improve our social media presence. So we've determined that Blue Sky and LinkedIn are going to be our focus, and efforts are going to be made to post or reshare weekly on Blue Sky and more frequently on LinkedIn. I will also be working to strengthen our relationship with key collaborators of our project, including Drupal and Fedora. I've already started some of these conversations, especially with Aaron Griffith, so I'm looking forward to working with those folks to hopefully build out some exciting things for both of our communities. And then other responsibilities is assigned by this year's essential activities documentation. So it's something you might have heard about if you're in the Slack channel or on the Google group. We worked to create a document that kind of outlined all of the ongoing responsibilities for our different folks in the the governance groups. So I will be doing lots of other things in the background as well. I wanted to share the calendar at a glance that I talked about. So again, Q1 is that August to October timeframe. So we'll be looking at case studies, user showcase, website review, and assessing and beginning work on approachability. Q2, November to January, we'll be looking into the quick start documentation, quarterly newsletter. We'll probably have started that actually in Q1, and then trainings and webinars. Q3, February to April, review the starter site, educational efforts, and community sprints. And Q4 is May through July, best practices documentation and starter site updates. So how are we going to stay accountable for all of this? I will note again, not all of these things are going to be perfectly done in this year. This is just meant to be goalposts for us to keep ahead on. So I have a Trello board with daily, weekly, and quarterly objectives, and this is something that the co-chairs of the leadership group as well as the board have access to and can keep me honest on. And I meet regularly with Noah to make sure that these goals are on track. We'll also have regular reporting to the leadership group and the board, as well as status updates to mark the community quarterly and an evaluation at the year mark. So I'll see you all back at the AGM next year and we'll kind of talk about some of the wins, maybe some losses. You know, it's going to be a process, but we'll see how far we made it and where we would like to go, what things we want to change. You know, some of these things that I'm sharing right now might end up being not so great ideas, and we'll find that out together. But it'll be a community process. So as I mentioned, it's an iterative process. It's designed to complement what is already great about the Islandora community. It's going to be collaborative, and I really, really welcome your feedback wherever possible. I hate the phrase, my door is always open, but it really is. Please come talk to me if you have thoughts, if you have ideas that you didn't see in this community plan. They're like, well, we really need to do X, Y, and Z thing. Come to me, let's make an update, let's change it, let's add it to the calendar. I'm more than happy to do that and work with you on it. So it's my aim to support our community as is and also bring in those new members to help share that workload and bring in some fresh ideas. So with all that said, if you are interested in joining a committee, working group, or interest group, please fill out this form to indicate your interest. I will share it in the chat if it is not already being shared in the chat. But we really, really need you to help make these things possible. So if you haven't ever been involved with any of our formal community groups, please consider it. I think it's a really great way to make your voice heard as well as to see a little bit under the hood, see how the decisions are being made, gives you that opportunity. And thank you very much, everyone, for listening to me chat about all of that. If you have any questions, please reach out to my email, Slack, on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with you in any way, and I'm so excited to work with you all on all of this in the year ahead.
Thank you, Aubrey. I'll just pause for a moment here and say that we're all really delighted to have Aubrey on board. And when she came on board, there were essentially two live events that were her two main priorities getting here, right? There was open repositories where she and I went and met Jerry in Chicago and ran the Islandora through the repository rodeo or whatever it's called now. And she did a great job there. And she's done a great job running this conference. And we're looking forward to the next year. So thank you, Aubrey.
Thanks, Noah. Thanks so much.
Okay, back to the main program. I flashed the agenda up earlier. I'm going to go back to that. And we need to approve the agenda for today. Can I get a motion to approve this agenda, please? Any of the member organizations can move and second motions. In the chat, I see PALS has moved to approve and BCELN has seconded. Any discussion? All right, let's take it to a vote. Terrific. Thanks, everyone. And the second item of business is the approval of last year's minutes. Hopefully, you all have had a chance to take a look at this. This is our meeting from September 24th of last year, last AGM. If you so I'm again looking for a motion to approve the minutes of our 2024 AGM. Ideally from somebody who was there. Anybody? Nicole, do you mind moving?
Yeah, I can move to approve.
Terrific.
So we need-
The link in the chat. Yes, sorry, I can get that link in the chat here. And Brandon from BCELN has seconded.
Okay.
I'll give you all a few moments with it here. Any discussion? Any additions, corrections? All right, hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All right. Terrific. That also has passed unanimous. Next up, we have the treasurer's report. Jerry, I'm going to bring this up on the screen and I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Noah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Right on. So hi, everyone. For those I haven't met, I'm with Discovery Garden. I joined the management team just about a year and a half ago, and really excited to be working with the community here, working with Discovery Garden as well. Longtime treasurer John Eden from Discovery Garden. He's transitioned into he doesn't like the R word, but retirement. But again, well deserved. Went back through previous years and a lot of volunteer effort there from a lot of you, including him. So, but he transitioned out of board duties in May, and I've helped cover, including the treasurer requirements there. Thanks to the rest of the board, Nicole, Noah, and Aubrey for patience as I get up to speed. And thanks to Beryl as well, Beryl Moses, some great bookkeeping there, makes it pretty straightforward. But the actual fiscal year end, the report is linked there, but I just have a little bit of commentary here. With the revenue and expenses, movement within 10%, either way, resulting in surplus of 30,000, which is basically the same as it was in fiscal year 2024. And operating funds, cash, and a GIC on hand of about 165,000. And then forecast for this year, again, as Noah mentioned, Aubrey had her hands full with those two events right after starting. Really appreciate pulling together the plan, but we haven't really dug into the a budget for that plan. And there'll be various things around events and supports. So I just want to call that out, that isn't in the forecast as of yet. And we'll have to work on some fundraising to cover those. But it is resulting in a deficit for next year. Again, we have the operating funds to support, but our our job at the board level and leadership group level now is to get that deficit reduced over time. It is an investment, and it's great to see that the first priority is growth and membership and activities. So I did, in getting up to speed, I did pull together the fiscal year ends for the last few years just to show the trends here. And definitely not an alarmist type of thing, but I think it is a call to action for us to put those investments in place. And we hear it all the time, get back to the pre-pandemic levels that we had with membership and things like that. So Noah, this again, my first report. Is there anything else I should cover here, or are there any questions?
I can click through to these reports as well. So this is a P&L sheet, income, expenses, and so on. As Jerry mentioned, the forecast, Beryl prepares these for us. And what Jerry was talking about is the bottom line for the next 12-month period without expenses to, say, send Aubrey to conferences and so on is minus 50,000. Now, at the end of that year, we will still have 100,000 in the bank. And so that's what Jerry is talking about in terms of having enough runway to operate like this, but not forever. So this is what I would say is a not a sustainable business model, and that is a high priority for the board as well as the leadership group in the next year. And some of the things we're going to talk about in terms of organizational evolution will play right into this. For example, spinning up an events and a membership committee to work on events that can drive revenue and membership and grants that can bring additional funds to the foundation.
Yeah, just on the events part, again, I had the privilege to attend Open Repository this year, and a lot of passionate folks coming up talking to us about Islandora. And it's one of those things where if you're not there, folks wonder what's up. There was another open source software platform that was not represented there. So, and that was the vibe is, are there issues with it, with that organization? So folks are getting back out, they're going to these events, and it's a great opportunity to create some exposure and awareness.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jerry. Any questions? Could I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented? Natalie from Iowa, and a second from PALS. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote. All right, terrific. Thank you all. That looks unanimous as well. All right, so that brings us to new business. And I've referenced this a couple times. This is the same text that I sent to the listserv last week, maybe Thursday or Friday. The gist of it is that the leadership group and the board and Aubrey have been working over the last year or so, culminating in pulling together this proposal in the last few weeks to set out some organizational change elements to support the strategic directions from our strategic plan, as well as Aubrey's one-year plan. So tying into Jerry's report, we are looking to create 3 new committees. The Roadmap Committee, which will create and maintain a public roadmap for Islandora. with priorities on regular updates and clear communication. Ideally, this would express a 3-year plan for the project, for the software portion of the project at least. We're also looking to spin up an events committee. This committee will support planning and execution of Islandora Con, Islandora camps, if we can bring those back to life, and other community foundation events. I think I've heard Aubrey mention a few times that we would like to piggyback on other conferences that many of us already go to. So maybe we can have a few different events throughout the year, after ALA or DLF or so forth. So those sort of decisions and planning will be delegated to that events committee. Finally, we need a membership and fundraising committee. I think fundraising really means grants here. There are other types of fundraising we can do, but typically if we're asking folks for money, institutions for money, it's either in the form of a grant or a membership. We would accept other donations, of course, but those are the two primary ones. So this committee would develop a renewed promotion and marketing campaign for Islandora, as well as look at our business model, the membership levels and costs, and also develop a grants and partnership strategy. So that link that Aubrey asked to be shared in the chat about community participation lists all 3 of these new committees. And if you have any interest in participating in these ways, please do express that when you fill out that form. Technically, we do not need a vote to create these committees. We have the structures in place to do that, but we thought in the best interest of a coherent community, we should bring these for ratification here. In addition, there are a couple of other things that we're looking to do. One is recognize the policy work of the metadata interest group and the documentation interest group by declaring them to be real committees of the foundation, not just interest groups. This was a key piece of our strategic plan, was sort of separating community of interest work from policy work. Not to say that the same group can't do both of those things, but if a group is doing policy work, that they really are recognized as such, with proper representation on the leadership group, and a transparent naming structure so that folks can really understand what it is that these groups do. So a huge thank you to Yamil and Rosie, who have agreed to lead these 2 renewed committees now for the next year. And there are already new terms of reference being drafted and circulated. Terms of reference for the roadmap, events, and membership committee will sort of be proposed and come into the first meeting for finalization within those groups. So it's not the sort of thing where it's going to be totally external. A proposal will be made and brought to the folks who expressed interest in joining these committees, and then they will be able to finalize the mandate and the terms of reference. In addition, we're looking to create 2 new working groups. So coming out of Mark Jordan's presentation on the past and future of Islandora Workbench, we're looking to create the Islandora Workbench working group, and I've heard a lot of interest in that already, so I'm excited to join that. Technically, the IWWG, which is a mouthful, will be a subgroup of TAG. You don't need to be associated with TAG to join that. It's just that each working group needs to be associated with a committee, and that's the committee that the Workbench working group will be associated with. Finally, Aubrey is looking to create an adoption working group to work through those cold start problems and other adoption issues. And there's a lot of work to be done there. I think that work is less software oriented and more documentation and planning and communication and so on. But I'm sure that group will have recommendations for how the software can support a easier adoption process. Finally, just a couple of community notes. The IR interest group has been sunset. This had some considerable activity in the past, and has dwindled over the past few years. If folks are interested in reforming an IR interest group or any other interest group, please reach out to Aubrey. One additional note, interest groups are not represented on the leadership group individually. So the only interest group that's live right now, I think, is the LAC-CLAM interest group. And moving forward, they will not have, none of the working groups, I'm sorry, none of the working groups will have representation, nor will the interest groups on the leadership group. But Aubrey will represent those. So you'll have sort of representation through Aubrey. All right. And Aubrey, thank you for sharing the link to this. Let's do discussion after the motion. I'm looking for a motion that the members endorse the organizational changes proposed in this plan. BCELN moves, Iowa seconds. Any discussion? No? All right. Well, thank you. I'm glad to have the support of the membership. Let's solidify that with a vote, please. Thank you, everyone. That looks unanimous as well. All right, our next order of business. Our board members or directors are elected on 2-year cycles. Nicole's first year was this last year. And as Jerry mentioned, he finished John Eden's second year this year. So Jerry and I are both up for, we've been nominated by our institutions to continue to serve on the board, and we are both seeking a new 2-year term. Could I ask for a motion to elect the nominees as board members by acclamation? See Natalie from Iowa with the motion and Brandon from BCELN as the second. Any discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. Thank you. It has been my privilege to serve on the board and to chair the board this year. We set our board roles at our first board meeting of the year. So we will, when Nicole and Jerry and I meet, we will work that out, but I don't anticipate any changes. We haven't discussed any changes so far. All right, this maybe was the, this is similar. I should have had a slide at the beginning when we were counting up members. This one is fairly close. Our next order of business is to constitute our leadership group for the next year. The way this works is that there are a certain set of membership categories, and each membership category has a different percentage of members allowed to represent it. So partners are our top level, and each partner is allowed to nominate a representative to the leadership group. Collaborators are our second level. 50% of our collaborators are able to be represented. In other words, 50% rounded down, a number of seats are available for the collaborator membership group. Supporters, it is 25%. And then adopters, is 1 in 8, so that's 12.5%. A little bit, I'll get to adopters in a few minutes. In addition, the leadership group has representation from the committees that I mentioned before, and the board sends its board chair and vice chair to the leadership group as well. So we've received nominations from Born Digital of Sarah Goldstein, Discovery Garden of Akanksha, McMaster of Mark, UPEI of Courtney. York University will send Nick, BCELN, Brandon, FLVC, Rebel. University of Iowa will send Natalie. UNLV has nominated Manish. And a huge thank you to our committee representatives, Amy from Whitman on the Code of Conduct, Yamil from Berkeley on documentation, Rosie from UPEI on metadata, and Annie again on tag from NIU. So a huge thank you. This is a lot of work every year to keep those committees moving.
Noah, do you have that text handy that I could drop into the notes, the list of nominees?
Yeah. You can pull it right from the slides afterward.
Gotcha, thank you.
So what are our open seats? So I made a decision because I had a little bit of leeway, and Amy gave me the okay to do this. Whitman is an adopting member and also University of Saskatchewan. Amy, if she represents the Code of Conduct group, does not use the adopter seat. Saskatchewan did not nominate anybody. And so what that means is that if we get another adopter, which is only $500 a year to sponsor the foundation, that they would be able to self-nominate. So if you're interested in joining the leadership group, the easiest way probably is to drop $500 and that group will still has a seat open on the leadership group. Now, if a couple institutions do it, we'll have to work out who gets the seat. But if somebody steps up, that we would love to have them. There are 2 other ways that folks can join very, very easily. Every partner is eligible. Now, this is an expensive membership class, but if you are able to afford the top level sponsorship, you are guaranteed a seat on the leadership group. And then collaborators, just by the fact that there are 50% eligible, and we have an odd number right now. If one more collaborator joins the foundation, one more seat will become available, and we will be able to nominate across one more from that group. That is true, of course, of all the groups, but these are the ones where just one more member instantly will create a seat. Okay, in addition, last year in our strategic plan, we set out 2 community seats on the leadership group every year. Last year, Carolyn from University of Pittsburgh was an excellent addition to the leadership group, and I think we had the second seat open. Forgive me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. This year, there have been 4 nominees for the community seats. Caleb Dervin from University of Limerick in Ireland, Chris Levesque from University of West Florida, Carolyn again from University of Pittsburgh, and Joe Corral from Lehigh. This is a members only vote, so please, whoever is the member rep, I'm going to put this link in the chat when I can find it in my other window here. Or maybe I can just do it this way. If you are the representative, please use this little poll to nominate in ranked order your selection for the community seats. Now, I had to set it up so that it asks for your name, and I did that so that we can verify that people who have the right to vote are voting. And I can give preliminary results here, but I don't think I'm going to be able to verify the results on the fly. So please do take a moment and vote. Okay, I see 10 votes. I see 11 votes and one more is working. So we're looking for one more, I think. Okay, is somebody still working on this? Or are we ready to call it 11? As I said, I'll have to verify this later, but it looks like Joe Corral and Carolyn Friedrich from the universities of Lehigh and Pittsburgh are our community seats this year. So thank you for the 4 nominations, and thank you to Joe and Carolyn pending verification. We will be delighted to have you join us. And again, a huge thank you to Carolyn for the work of the last year. All right. Our final order of business under other business is a call for participation, the same one as before. Again, please do fill out this community interest form and submit this. And Aubrey will reach back out to the folks who expressed interest in the new committees to set up the initial committee meeting. I know that we're jumping right in with the roadmap committee work. The first meeting of events and membership may be slightly delayed just to get this off the ground. But of course, membership in particular and events, if we're planning another Islandora Con next year, are both big priorities. So we need to get all of these moving fairly quickly. Unless there is any other business from the floor, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Natalie has moved and Rebel has seconded. Last chance for final discussion. I believe under Robert's rules, we do not need to vote on a motion to adjourn with no discussion. So thank you all very much. And we will see you next year, maybe, hopefully, in person. That would be delightful.
All right. Sorry, I was just responding there with the form again. Yes, again, if anyone missed it, if you're interested in any of those working groups, committees, any of that, I've shared the form in the chat, so you can access it there. Anyone who's interested should fill that out. You can also contact me directly, but it's better if we have everybody in the form. That would be super helpful. So thank you so much to Noah for running the AGM, and thanks for everyone for your participation in the AGM.